Alright, so as I mentioned before, there's two main ways to install Angular. Now, the recommended way at this time is to use the Angular CLI, or the command line interface, which is basically a program we can download with NPM, and we can use it to generate Angular applications, and then we can also use it to generate components and services, routes, things like that. Now, I don't want to get right into the generation because I want you to really understand what a component is made of, what files, what the file structure is like. I don't want to just generate the stuff and not have you know what's going on behind the scenes. So we're going to start off by just manually creating the files, and then later on we'll get into generation. And there's also the quick start seed, which you can use to create an Angular app, and that's basically just kind of a boilerplate that you can get from GitHub and you can download and you can kind of use as a starting point. And it doesn't have generation commands and things like that. So like I said, CLI is definitely the recommended way. It has some really nice build tools built into it as well if you want to deploy your application. So what we'll do now is install Angular with the CLI, and then later on I'll show you how to install an application with the quick start. Alright, so this is angular.io. This is the main website for Angular 4. And if we go to docs, you'll see there is some really good documentation here. If we go to get started, this will tell us how to get set up. So we need to first install the Angular CLI, and then we can generate a new application by using ng-new, and then we can run our application with ng-serve. Okay, so everything is included in this CLI. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to open up my git bash component, not component, but my git bash program that we downloaded. And I'm going to cd into a folder that I have called projects, and this is where I'm going to create everything that we do for this course. So we want to first install Angular CLI, and if you look right here, you can see there's a -g. We do npm install, which is Node Package Manager, install, and then G. Okay, the G is for global, meaning that this is gonna be installed globally so that you can access it from anywhere. So you'll be able to generate an Angular application from absolutely anywhere on your machine. So let's go ahead and run that. We'll say npm install -g, and then we want to do the @ Angular/CLI. Okay, and that may take a few minutes to install on your system. So that's all set. Angular CLI should be installed globally. So now we can just run ng-new and then our app name. So I'm just going to call this Angular app. And that could take a minute or so. And what this is going to do is it's going to set up all of the core Angular files that we need to run an application. Okay, it's going to create, and even more than that, it'll create some testing files. It's going to configure TypeScript. It's going to create the root app component. It's going to create app module, a whole bunch of stuff. So what we'll do is, after we run this, in the next video, we're going to take a look at all the different files and look at what actually is included in an Angular application. Some of the stuff isn't really important for you to know, but I'm going to go over the stuff that is really fundamental to Angular. Alright guys, that took about 2 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do now is cd into Angular app. And now we're in our applications directory, so we should be able to now do ng-serve. And that should run the application for us on the dev server, which I believe is going to be on port 4200 by default. Okay, let's just click Allow Access. Okay, it's just building out all the modules. And it's built successfully. And you can see that Angular CLI actually uses Webpack under the hood. Alright, if you're using the Quick Start, that uses something called System.js, which I don't like as much as Webpack. I think Webpack is a better choice. So let's see, I thought that it opened it on its own, but apparently not. So let's go to localhost, and we're going to go to port 4200, and there's our Angular application. Okay, so this is kind of like the boilerplate. It's just the logo, and then we have some links here. So in the next video, what we're going to do is open this up in Visual Studio Code, and we're going to take a look at the file structure of an Angular 4 application.